Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or good evening, depending where you are. Thank you for joining us and welcome to our special live event, a conversation that sparks innovation, women and girls in science. Because it's conversation, I have some guests with me who I will be introducing shortly. The International Day of Women and Girls in Science took place earlier this month. And today we're continuing that conversation with a special discussion where we're bringing together scientists and students to talk about careers and discoveries and the future of science, technology, engineering and mathematics, or STEM for short. My name is Michelle Kierner and I'm your host for today's discussion. Before we start chatting, let's just take a moment to reflect on why discussions like this are so important, why we're here today. When I studied physics in high school, I was the only girl in my year amongst 60 other physics students. And although things have got better, even today, gender gaps in STEM subjects and careers remain a challenge. Research shows that interest in STEM often declines between the ages of 11 and 14. And while women make up a third of the scientific community, that number has not changed much in the last decade. In some countries, fewer than 10% of researchers are women. So how can we change that? Well, it starts with conversations like this, where young minds can ask questions, see role models, and hear directly from experienced scientists and engineers. Let me make those introductions. I'm excited to be joined in person by Clemmy and by Jessica, who will be bringing their own unique perspectives to the conversation. And joining us by video is Sophia, who has pre-recorded her questions because she has school this afternoon and couldn't join us in the studio. So thank you to all three of you for giving us your time. Also joining us today are two incredible ABB scientists, Jordis Herman and Kathy Chen. Jordis, would you like to tell us a little bit about where you are and what you do for ABB?
Absolutely. It's an honor to join such a fantastic event. So I work for ABB Robotics in the software development for our amazing robots. And there I develop basically the code and the math that controls the robot's motions. Super exciting field. I might have not thought I would be here when I was your age, girls, but here I am and I have a really good time. And besides writing code myself, I also lead a few of the software projects that we have here at Robotics. And that's a little bit like being the team captain. There's always a lot of action and imagine sports. And then you have a good idea of how that looks like for me.
Thank you, Jordis. Kathy, would you like to tell us a little bit about, actually, I don't know, where are you sitting right now and what's your role in ABB?
Sure. Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everybody. This is Kathy, and I'm based in Västerås, Sweden. I am the Business Research Manager in ABB Electrification, responsible for identifying the innovation needs, to defining the research portfolio and developing a strategic roadmap for a safer, smarter, and more sustainable electrification. So my great pleasure to be here and looking forward to the interesting discussions. Back to you, Michelle.
That's great. Thank you very much, Kathy. We look forward to having a good chat today, getting stuck into all the nitty-gritty questions. But we also want to hear from you, from our watchers and from our listeners. If you're watching live, do please drop your questions into the chat and we're going to be keeping an eye on them and we will try and get through as many as possible in the next 30 minutes or so. So don't hesitate to join in. The conversation is at its best when it's broad. I did see that lots of ladies had registered for the chat today. And although we're talking about women and girls in science, of course, it can only truly be a discussion when everybody's involved. So do please encourage your male colleagues and contacts to hop in and join the conversation as well. So let's get started. My first question, I'm going to go to the scientists. I'm going to go, first of all, I think to Kathy, but then afterwards to Jordis, and to ask, what do you think would be different in your field if more women were involved in science?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Michelle. I'm with a background of electrical engineering, and where women are in general underrepresented globally. So I think quite few possible differences might arise if we have more women involved. First of all, I'm thinking of more inclusive and supportive working environment, because women usually bring strong communication and empathy skills to the workplace, which foster collaboration, mutual trust, and respect. And second, I think it will help to drive innovation and creative way of problem solving whenever you bring diverse perspectives and experiences, and female researchers may even broaden the research landscape based on their own interests and priorities. And third, with the increased visibility and representation of women in the world of engineering, it will provide more role models or mentors for aspiring female engineers, and will also encourage our next generation, right, like the girls we have here today, to pursue their career in the field when they grow up.
Yeah, all good points. Thank you very much. Jordis, do you have similar experiences and other things you'd like to add?
I'm mute. We should know that by now. Yeah, I agree. And I think for me, it's really just to get the broadest spectrum of perspective that you can get to the table. And I think their diversity and all the forms that it comes in is beneficial, because usually different angles help solving problems in a better way and have better exchanges about them. So yeah, or great for that to have it increased.
Thank you. I'm going to stay briefly with our scientists and come back to you with a question to sort of reflect back a little bit, sort of before you started your careers, and to think back to your time at school, and to think about when you were making your career choices and your experiences at school, and whether you had favourite subjects, and also which subjects were you good at, because I know from my own experience they're always the same thing. So Kathy, how was your time at school? What do you remember from that, and do you think it influenced your choice to become a scientist?
Yes, I think that's a great question. I have always been dreamed of becoming an engineer since I was a little girl. It's probably because I consider it as a truly incredible and amazing job. So my favorite subject at school, as you can imagine, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. So for me, it's definitely a very natural choice for me to go with the electrical engineering. For me, then it's not really a question whether to go engineering or not. It's whether electrical or mechanical or information or biomedical. So I think it was the right decision and natural decision that I go with electrical engineering, and I feel every day was the right decision.
Can I ask from that, Kathy, then, I mean, it seems like when you were at school that you knew what an engineer is, or you'd heard of engineers or the idea of that as a job. How did you know that?
I mean, there's a lot of also information we get from the teacher from the school and also from the family members, and we already have been discussing about it since, I think, junior school, that you should already start to plan what you would like to do in the future. So, and then and some of the subjects are really critical for us to really understand in a good way. So that was, at least for me, it was super clear already when I started my junior school and really focusing on those subjects, which I also happen to like a lot.
Okay, well, we have to thank your teachers for giving you the information and guiding you that you're with us today. What about yourself, Jordis, when you were at school? How did you always know you wanted to be an engineer or a scientist, and what did you like and not like at school?
Actually quite a bit different. I liked a huge variety of topics when I was school. Math was definitely one of my favorites, but I did not know when I was around until I graduated high school that I wanted to become an engineer. I had a very brief phase where you could have had an indication or that I would go and study aerospace engineering. I had, when I was 10, 11 years old, the phase where I was super much into rockets and airplanes and thought it was super cool that you could make these things fly. But I wanted to become maybe a lawyer or a doctor for a very long time, and there was really decision I took much later. So basically when I was finished with school already. And I think for me, it was a bit the lack of role models. I grew up in the countryside. I didn't know any engineers and I didn't know what they do all day. So it didn't really occur to me that, just because I like math, maybe I really enjoy studying something where you describe the world in abstracts and eventually with formulas, that I would like it that much. I explored it a bit, being courageous after I graduated.
We'll have to have a chat offline afterwards. I'm very curious as to how you ended up with robots and not into marine engineering when we see you sat on the deck of that lovely yacht that, when you were little. So let me come to Clemmy and to Jessica. Maybe to Jessica first. Okay, it's always a tricky question. How things are going at school? Do you have favourite subjects and subjects that you maybe are particularly good at? And are they the same or not the same?
Well, I like crafting and sports.
And Clemmy, what about you?
Well, I like lots of different subjects. I go through like phases. Personally, at the moment, I like biology a lot and science. For us in our school, it's all the same thing. And maths can be interesting depending on what we're looking at. And PE, same. It can be interesting depending what we're looking at, but it basically changes from time to time.
Okay, well, that's probably quite good because then you're sort of keeping your options open, aren't you, and seeing what's available.
Yeah.
And is that a topic at school yet? Are they talking about what you might want to do as a job, or are they talking about giving you examples of different careers?
Well, we're definitely talking about it in lots of different subjects. We've had to hold presentations about what we might like to do, but I don't really know yet.
Jessica, is there any?
No.
It's not really a big topic yet.
No.
Okay, good. I assume you want to be influencers or something. Okay, thank you very much. We have a question that Sophia has pre-recorded for us because, as you know, she can't be here today. And so Sophia has a question for our scientists.
Hi, my name is Sophia and I'm 9 years old. Do you think that we'll have flying cars or super cool inventions in the future?
So Sophia's a little bit quiet, so just to make sure everyone could hear it, she asked, do you think we'll have flying cars and super cool inventions in the future? Should we go first to, well, which of our scientists would like to take the question first?
Probably I can take the question. Or
Thanks, Kathy.
What do you think? Yeah, I think absolutely nothing is impossible, right? Things like flying cars, humanoid robots, self-healing materials, generative AI, or quantum computing. I think the future of technology definitely holds endless, incredible inventions. So that is definitely something that we can imagine that will happen.
I like that. Things are difficult, but not impossible. Not impossible. It just sometimes requires patience and money. Yeah, exactly. What about yourself, Jordis? Do you think we're going to have the flying cars, and what else do you envisage in this amazing future?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that was a big topic when I studied already, and I think it will come. Then the question is of how broad the adoption in the entire population will be, of course, because we also have an energy question there that we need to answer as a society, and flying cars, you can imagine, it requires a lot of energy if everyone would use them. But technically, I think that's already within the possible, and it's now also making the right policies. It's not just solving the technical questions, so to speak. It's much broader society topic, and I think that is also what will decide how the future will look like and how cool things we will have in real life, everyday life, maybe, let's say, more. And generally, however, I believe we will have technology much more closer to us as persons, and the adaptability of technology in life will be much more natural. So I imagine the growing generation of today, they will have a much different relationship to technology than what my generation or even the ones before had. And that is definitely super exciting, and I think will get a lot of talent into that field, because it becomes so much more present.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about my children already teaching me how to do tricks on my mobile phone. So, we have a question that's come in on the chat, which is from Amina. And Amina would like to know, how can we encourage the future generation to innovate sustainable projects that add value to the quality of basic life? I'm going to ask the question to everyone. I'm going to give Jessica and Clemmy, I'm going to give you a little moment to think about that, to think about the idea of sustainable projects for our future, and how can we encourage the innovation. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that while I go to, can I go to Jordis first and ask you Amina's question about encouraging the future generation to innovate sustainable solutions?
Yeah, I think for sure that will become a critical thing for society to push talent into that direction. And I think one thing is to first of all make that connection that sustainability and technology are actually needing to come together to solve some of the global challenges, such as climate change, that we have today. And I think when we do that, that will quite naturally inspire people to look more into these questions. And I can tell you from my personal experience that it is already a quite crucial part of technology to answer these questions. But I think we need to push maybe even more, which of course means also investments and funding for science, independent science, not just in companies, to push these topics, and also then bring opportunities for companies to evolve. So, for example, have startups in that area. I think, and they're just showing the opportunities will be very important.
Okay, thank you very much. Kathy, do you want to jump in on the question about encouraging the future generations for innovating in sustainability?
Sure. I first of all fully agree with what Jordis has said. I think it's also important to think about education program, right, at universities or schools, so people or girls can already get into this area in the early phase. I can also take the example of my son, who is also studying in grade 6, and by discussing with him, I feel that there's already a lot of information that's shared by the school about the sustainable technology, about how to make the energy supply cleaner. And so there was a lot of information already included, but I guess we can do even more. And of course, we can think about sharing the success stories, right? And also the achievements, so that we inspire and motivate more and more people to join us, and focusing on how the sustainable development will look like. And as Jordis said, if companies are also keep investing in this area, then we will also create the demand of the talents, and that would also help to further increase our understanding and interest into this technology.
Okay, thank you. Let me just put the same question, but in a very slightly different way, for Clemmy and for Jessica, just to ask. So, if you had an idea, and if you were going to invent something, hopefully something that's going to be fantastic for the climate and sustainability, but if you have an idea and you want to invent something, what do you think would encourage you to go forward and do something with that invention and try and make it real? Or what do you imagine might sort of get in the way of doing that, apart from right now, school, obviously?
Well, that's a hard question. I think.
Do you imagine that you think if you come up with an idea, you think, oh yeah, I can do that? Or do you think, oh, I'm not really sure how to start with that?
I think at first you have the motivation of the idea, because you came up with this amazing idea, but it would seem quite impossible if you didn't have a plan or something that can help you reach the goal, something that can actually help you create it.
Okay. I might have an idea for you. Did you want to jump in, Jessica, with something on that?
No.
Okay, you're going to be part of Clemmy's plan, I think.
Yeah.
Which is that we have a question on the chat, which is from Sandina. My apologies if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. But Sandina would like to know. I think it's a question for our scientists, but it sort of fits in with maybe answering your question about how could you take that idea forward if you've got this, idea for an invention. Sandina would like to know: did you have women mentors during your education or career?
I can jump in. I think for me, I had a lot of mentors, and there was a quite broad mix actually of women for some topics that maybe it fitted a little bit better. But I actually also had a huge amount of male mentors who were incredibly supportive. And I think I would just want to highlight the importance of mentors, because they can help you solve challenging problems. They can give you opportunities. They can believe in you when you need it the most. And can help you to really find something that you have fun with every day. And there, I think the gender isn't so important, but having mentors and finding them in your professional field is super key to having a successful and fun career.
Well said, Jordis. I think it's the same for me. I had quite some mentors since I joined ABB from different phases in my career. It's a mixture of female or male mentors, but it doesn't really matter too much. I think in general, mentorship is very important to provide guidance and support, and also to help challenge the stereotype and bias, and also to give a sense of belonging and connections when you are growing your network within the company. So I hope that we will have more and more chance to do even more mentorship programs in ABB, and also together with our external partners.
Well, certainly, I think in a very small organic way here, when you guys come up with your idea for your invention, you're already now networked in with two amazing potential mentors that you can go to with your idea, and if they're not the right people to help you, they're going to for sure know some people they can put you in touch with for how you can come up with your plan and turn your invention into reality. Because I mean, when we talk about mentoring as this sort of very business word, but what it really comes down to is sort of about networking and talking to experts on things and gaining input from people and different perspectives and ideas, and when we can build all of that, then it empowers us all to sort of take things forward and so on. I have a question on the chat that's coming from Mirela. And this is definitely going to be more for our scientists, I think. And she would like to ask, how do you think we can have more women in leadership roles, especially in the technical departments? I don't know who would like to jump in on that one first.
Maybe some comments from my side as food for thoughts. So in general, to help more women and girls get access to the STEM field or in the leadership positions, field companies can take many actions from different dimensions. For example, in the recruitment process, in our people development program, in the also the university collaborations, etc. So I think many of them have been implemented in one way or the other. Like in ABB, we do have a target to increase our proportion of women in senior management roles to 25% by 2030. And we also have dedicated program to support the female leaders to excel in their current role and get ready for the next step. I think all of those are important initiatives really to help them to develop their own career into the leadership roles. Jordis, anything to comment from your side?
Yeah, no, really well said. And I think ABB is doing a really good job. I feel that my gender does not play a role in what I do or what I not do. And I think the only thing that I can maybe say as my recommendation to increase this maybe in other contexts as well is to maybe sometimes sit with something that is unexpected, because maybe if you have worked mostly with male leaders, you are not really familiar with how that looks like in a woman. And that, of course, we all have some, I call it now prejudice, but it doesn't mean it in a negative way. We have some ideas of how people are, and that might be just maybe different. And then not thinking, oh, this is rubbing me the wrong way, but just accepting that it's a different dynamic, and it can have many good things, I think. So I think, daring to experience there a bit different things than one is maybe used to.
Yes, yeah. The most important is to take initiative, right, to drive growth.
Yeah, so bringing all that sort of range of experience and appreciating sort of the diversity of ideas, that we strengthen our leadership and strengthen the company, or strengthen the products and our ideas and solutions when we bring in that bigger range of approaches to problems and things that we think about. Jessica and Clemmy have a couple of questions for you. Who would like to go first?
I'll go. What would a day in the life of a scientist look like realistically? Because people talk about like, well, a scientist has something to do with biology, but what do you guys actually do?
Very good question.
You sit around with a lab coat all day and kind of like one of those bottles with funny coloured fluid in it and swirl it around and make smoke. What do you actually do? Jordis, we've gone to Kathy on the camera. So Kathy, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think definitely every day is different, right? Depending on the priorities and importance of different topics. But I would say, in general, I'd like to start the day with a little bit of the reflection on what I have accomplished and what I have still on my to-do list, and to have a clear mind, where should I spend most of my time during the day. And then I definitely will start with different tasks and based on the priority and urgency. And you might want to really focus on some time dealing and solving some of the technical problems or issues that you have. You might also want to discuss with your colleagues, to exchange and do some brainstorming, and also as a sounding board to validate whether your idea is correct or not. And you might also want to summarize the day once you finish something, and then put a to-do list for the coming days that you also need to fulfill. And it may be also good to reflect a little bit if there is anything that is important that maybe you don't have time to do right now, but you should also put in your planning that this needs to be addressed some point in time. So that would be some brief summary based on my working schedule nowadays.
Do you ever get to do anything, Kathy, with magnets and cables and screwdrivers or sparks, or was that sort of earlier before you were leading?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of hands-on work. If you go with engineering world, then it's a lot of hands-on experience that you need to have to play with all kinds of things, that is also, I think, part of the learning experience. Yeah, so then you can also get familiar with different things. You are really courageous enough also to learn the things that you don't know. I think the most interesting part go with engineering is that you have the capability to learn new things. Yeah, you have also the curiosity and open mind to accept new things. So you can always adapt into the new universe and kind of a vast field of STEM, and you can really feel free to explore whatever things that you like to do.
That's great. So if every day is different, then you have to be very adaptable. So Jordis, please tell me that you come into the office in the morning and a robot makes you a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Actually, I have been working on that at some point. So who knows? Maybe in a few years. So my days look actually really different day to day. I usually start similar to Kathy with a small reflection in the morning, just a few minutes to kind of set the goals for the day, maybe also see if there's some open topics from the day before. And then my days look very different depending on what is currently the most important. I have actually a lot of meetings with other people because engineering, and I would say especially robotics, is super multidisciplinary. It's barely any problem that I can at least solve by myself. I need usually different disciplines to jump in on these things, so lots of coordination is needed. Then, of course, you also sit, or in my case, I sit with a laptop a lot and write code. As I mentioned before, it's to abstract phenomena and put them into code, sometimes also with pen and paper, and write some mathematical equations down that will need to go to code then. And then it's also going and visit these guys in the lab. For sure, you need to validate your things that you have thought out in theory in the lab, actually. So yeah, being in the lab and testing things in real life is for sure also an important part. And not to skip it, because I sit in Sweden, the coffee breaks are actually, I would say, that is the only thing that's almost the same every day, that you have an innovative talk with your colleagues and work friends. So one of the highlights every day.
And that's usually where the most brilliant ideas coming out.
Fully agree, because there it's so free, like you just bounce off ideas off each other, and it has a great dynamics.
Yeah, I think it was one of the things that that a lot of the grown-ups that already at work missed during the pandemic, was being able to sort of be in a playground together and just bounce ideas off each other and see what sort of thoughts people had. Jessica, I think you have a question for our scientists as well.
What will the future look like?
Big question. Big question. Well, I don't know whether we want to go to the person wearing the NASA top, Jordis. I mean, you must have this very sort of universe view of what you think the future is going to look like. Will we get to Mars? Are we going to stay on this planet? I have no idea. Jordis, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I will try to answer it from a technology perspective. So I think, yes, we will do more space exploration, and probably also use space as a resource more, hopefully, and that is in our hands, in the hands of the future generations, in a sustainable and responsible way. To me, that is a part that I hold really close to my daily work, and I think should be very closely uncoupled with engineering and as well. We have responsibility when we develop solutions, and so I hope we will do that in a reasonable way. And I think we will see much more automation and adoption of technology. So robots, I think, will come much closer to humans, be much more part of our daily lives. And with robots, it could be self-driving cars, flying, air taxis. And then, of course, also AI. I think that will play a bigger role. I think for me personally, I have AI a bit as my assistant, helping me with lots of small tasks. And I think this will be not just in the work context. I think we will see this coming much more. And you have probably played a bit with ChatGPT, girls. I don't know if it helps you do some of your tasks, but I think that will become much more present in our lives too.
Just to add a little bit, I think maybe the beauty of future is that we don't really know how it will look like in the future. No one can really predict the future. And but then from the technology point of view, actually we are already part of a big change, right? Admit it or not, like the generative AI, that is really revolutionizing everything we do right now. So I think we are already part of a big shift in terms of the technology, and more is going to happen, and it will be accelerated as well. Yeah, on top of what Jordis has already said, I feel that we can also think about like smart cities, like a lot of intelligence that's going to happen, benefiting from the AI and machine learning technology, and also everybody of us with the sustainability, with a sustainable development mindset, that we might also look for a more sustainable lifestyle and assisted by different advanced technology in the future. So I think let's also keep an open mind to see how the future will look like, at the same time, also with our creativity, with our commitment to really shape the future technology. And that would be the most exciting part we as female in STEM field can do.
I love your answer, Kathy. I fully agree. The sustainability part, I also really hope that we are going to do advances there, because that's one of our most pressing issues today as a society.
Yeah, lots of stuff to work on, lots of stuff to keep us busy. We're going to need you guys to get us there. You're the next generation that's coming through. And on that topic, we have a question that's come into the chat from Hannah, who would like to know, it's quite a deep question, so you can take a moment before you answer this. But Hannah would like to know, have you already so far, have you experienced anything that has sort of changed the way you think about your decisions based on being a girl or being not a boy? Are there things where you think, oh, I can't do that because I'm a girl? Or are there things where you think, oh, I have to do that because I'm a girl? Or do you not think about that at all? So has there been anything? Do you do all the same sports as the boys at school?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. I mean, a lot of the boys like football, but I don't think that stopped any girls from liking football or something like that.
Yeah. So when you're doing sport or PE together, you're all doing the same. You're working on the same thing, whether it's in school, whether it's gymnastics, or whether it's something else.
Yeah.
And the subjects, you're all studying the same things.
Well, for me, we haven't really decided to choose our own subjects yet. So you're kind of forced to do whatever you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, everyone is in the same place.
And what about when you get to work in groups and you can choose who you work with? Is it very mixed, or do the girls prefer to work with the girls and the boys prefer to go in groups with boys?
By me, often girls want to work with the girls.
Okay.
It's the same situation for me. Usually all the girls team up and all the boys team up. But if sometimes the teachers have to choose, and then if boys and girls are put together, some of the boys tend to complain and the girls don't.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Is that the only difference you notice if the teachers put you in a mixed group? Do you notice any other differences compared to when you're not mixed?
Well, by me, often it all falls out.
Okay.
Because the boys are like, yeah.
Do they talk out? Are they noisier or quieter, or what are they doing that's different to the girls?
The boys are definitely the noisiest.
The noisiest, okay. Okay, so you have to sort of get in there to make your voice heard, kind of thing. And okay, it'd be interesting to know if that's just your class or if that's a more general thing. But it's certainly a very small little sample of what we've got in the room here. I do just want to say thank you to everybody who's watching live at the moment. We've got a lot of viewers from all over the place, people from Sweden, Switzerland, Colombia, Sri Lanka, Brazil, Dubai, all over the place. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us your time. And for those of you that are dropping bits into the chat and giving comments, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We have another question here, which is from Anna. Anna would like to ask, maybe for Kathy and for Jordis, based on your experience, what advice would you give to women or girls who are nervous about deciding on a STEM career? Maybe they feel like they're going to fail or they're going to make a mistake, particularly if they're surrounded by male colleagues. Have you had that experience yourself, and how have you dealt with it?
I am happy to answer that one, because I think I have an advice that I should have maybe received when I was younger, and I have learned it, and by now it helps me not get intimidated by that anymore. And that is, just because something is hard for me, it doesn't mean that I'm bad at it, and that I cannot do it. And it might be just simply hard for everyone, and that why I also experienced that it's hard to do, but I might be actually really good at it. So I am trying to, I'm not good at it at first. I think it's hard. These kind of things, they will not stop me from getting there and being really good at something. And I think that is the advice that I would give someone that is unsure if they're good at it. Just go for it. Be curious. Try to learn as much as possible. And it's okay to not be good at it at first. And again, just because it's hard, it doesn't mean you're not good at it. And with that can give you a lot of confidence, and just go for it and not think so much about what other people might think that you're not good at it. Just go for it because it's fun and because you are curious.
Exactly. I would like to really add on this part. I think the first step towards success is really to believe in yourself, right? Believe your capabilities and your potentials, and everyone starts from somewhere, and the skills that is needed can be developed over time with dedicated effort. We have recently also discussed internally, and kind of a reflection when we are looking into a job description from women or girls' perspective, we're always focusing on the things as a gap, what I cannot do. But we should really look in the other rounds. I think we need to look into our potential and our opportunity and what I can do. So that is a little bit of a different mindset and angle how we look at the topic from the first place. And then I think we need to have an open mind and stay curious, right? We need to take the initiative to learn, to practice, and to ask right questions and seek opportunities to get new knowledge. And last but not least is then really to recognize your achievement, celebrate your achievement, no matter how small they may seem to be. And this is really the most important, to recognize your progress and be always passionate to explore the next steps. That's
Yeah,
a little-
that's great. I like that. I particularly like your comments about the dedication and about the tendency to focus on the gaps. And one of the best tips I was given recently was about not using the phrase when you look at something and you see it as a gap and you think, I can't do that, but you actually need to add the word yet. I can't do it yet. It's
Exactly.
about the practice and the dedication and the time, and you can't do it yet. It's such a small word, but it's really important. You can't do it yet. It's been a really, really great conversation with everybody. I'm just going to come to Clemmy and Jessica and ask if there's anything else that you want to ask, if you want to share with us your favourite technology, kind of like maybe what you should have for next Christmas, I don't know. And what are you thinking now about, maybe your future with science or engineering or mathematics? Is it sounding possible? Is it sounding horrible? Where are you on that thought process of career and studies and so on?
Well, wow. Well, to the technology thing, I think that AI is going to be so, it's already massive at this point, but I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger, and it's, getting better really quickly. And I think in the future it'll be really important, and like a day without AI will be like crazy. Even I'm sure you guys have heard of ChatGPT, for a question or something, rather than going to Google. It's already my thing. And I ask it for advice. It's a bit silly, but yes. I think AI is going to be a big thing.
That's going to be the big thing. And what about yourself, Jessica? Do you have a favourite technology?
No.
No, not yet. Yeah, okay. Maybe the TV. The cameras are quite important, right? We wouldn't have great films without great cameras and great TV. So I'm a bit of a film buff. So I'm quite keen on that technology, actually. Hopefully that's going to be around for a while, whether it's in a mobile phone or whether it's in something else. It makes some pretty fun stuff for us. And what about the science and technology stuff? Did you have an opinion or an idea about what our engineers and scientists do before? Has your opinion changed today?
Well, I learned loads of new things, which is very, very cool. Yeah, I'm really grateful for it.
Well, we're really grateful that you could join us today. Thanks very much for coming and spending the time with us, for listening, for asking questions. Thank you also to Jordis and to Kathy. Thank you very much for dialing in, giving us the benefit of your wisdom and some insights. Hopefully we've given some inspiration to the viewers that are listening and the people that they know, maybe their children at school, maybe teachers that are watching, who knows. It's great that we could have this conversation to move us forward. Any closing remarks from Jordis and Kathy before we finish?
Stay curious would be my advice to the younger generation. Ask lots of questions. If you don't understand things right away, keep asking. The only questions I ever regret are the ones that I haven't asked. And I think this way you will learn so much about technology, and you will train a skill that will be needed if you go into STEM. So
yeah,
that's my advice.
Super remarks, Jordis. Yeah, super. Any closing remarks from you, Kathy?
I would say really to all the girls out there, really strive for your goals and believe in yourself no matter what kind of decision you make, and let's drive the future together.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our viewers. Thank you for the team that helped put this together. Thank you to Sophia for pre-recording your video and sending it in. And I wish you all a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.